One of the more pressing concerns in society today is that of teenage mothers. You can't pick up a newspaper or open a magazine today without reading something about the epidemic of teenage pregnancy. But for every teenage mother, there's a father, and most of them are teenagers too. How come we don't hear anything about these teenage fathers? Where are they? Are they getting lost between the cracks? That's what we're talking about today on Fathers Are Parents Too. Welcome to Fathers Are Parents Too. We're here today with Steve Walker, who is a director at the Teenage Pregnancy and Parenting Program. That is a mouthful. That's probably why you call it TAPP, isn't it?
That's correct.
Steve, what is TAPP? Tell us about that.
Well, TAPP, the Teenage Pregnancy and Parenting Project, is a comprehensive case management network that services teen parents, teen moms, and teen dads. And basically, the client will come to us on intake, and in the intake we discover what their needs are. And so they come to us on a variety of needs. Those needs may be childcare, housing, need to get in school, employment. They may need counseling around domestic violence issues, so a variety of needs. So once we get those needs assessed in the intake, we assign them to a case manager counselor, and that counselor will work with each teen parent and basically work with them and help them with their needs and hook them in with the resources in the community to address those needs.
Now, how do they come to you initially? Are these referrals from other agencies, or is it just sort of a walk-in type situation?
Well, they do walk in, but most of the referrals come from the community agencies that directly work with teenagers. So that may be the clinics, high schools, churches, just a variety of different agencies in the community will make a referral to us.
Now, is there sort of a typical background or situation that these teenagers come from to you? In other words, who would your average client be?
Who would our average client be? Well, we really don't have what we call an average client, because we have clients that come from every different neighborhood in the city of San Francisco. So we don't have one particular client, but most of them are low income and do come from disadvantaged backgrounds.
Now, I was reading a little bit of literature that you sent me, and I understand that you, at any given time, have 600 to 650 people in the program. Is that right? Parents?
That's correct. Each case manager is responsible for about 40 to 45 cases. They have a caseload of 40 to 45, and the majority of them are teen moms. And so, we have about 18 to 20 case managers that carry 40 apiece. So at any one time, we are servicing around 600 to 650.
That's incredible.
Not every single day, but,
but
over
still,
the course of the month. Yes.
And you're just one agency who's doing this, so
that's correct.
I guess what they're saying out there in the popular press is true. This really is a problem. There are a lot of young people having children out there.
That's correct.
What about the fathers of the babies of these mothers who are coming to you? Do you do something to try and involve them in the program as well?
Oh, sure. We have a program. I developed a program, and it's called Taking Care of Business. And Taking Care of Business, or TCB as we like to call it, is a comprehensive teen father support group. And through this program, we provide our young men with the skills they need to become effective parents. And we talk about a variety of things in our groups. Responsible fatherhood, effective parenting, anger management, sexuality, and just a variety of topics that we talk about to enhance their skills as parents.
And these fathers come to you through the mother having come to you then?
Well, basically, we would, my favorite word is basically, Ann.
It's a very basic word.
We do an outreach every time we get an intake on a teen mom. We outreach to the teen dad, and so we get their information and we try and make a follow-up phone call and offer them the services that we provide through TCB, and that's our major way of doing outreach to the teen dads. But then the other way is what I found most effective is actually just going to and finding the teen dads. And
How do you do that?
I do a lot of legwork. I go to schools, I go to community agencies, I go to the clinics, and just sit there and just find out who, when they're coming in the door, and offer the service, and then get to know them and tell them a little bit more about the program and invite them to come to the program, and then, they're in our program.
So you're actually out there doing outreach specifically to teen fathers.
That's correct.
What is their response? I mean, everyone sort of thinks that the teenage fathers are just, going their own direction and they want nothing to do with these kids. And obviously you're touching some people that do not feel that way. What's the response when you go up to these guys and say, hey, we'll help you be a dad?
Well, surprisingly, it's very positive because they didn't know of the service. They didn't know of an arena where they can go and talk about their issues and talk about being a young parent. So it was surprisingly positive. So we had several fathers in the program now, and they feel it's a wonderful place to come and to learn about how to be an effective parent. So very positive.
I think that's wonderful. Now, another one of the statistics that I saw specifically from your program, but my sense is it reflects really the broader population. I can't talk today, so you say basically, and I'll just stumble on words. Is that within your program of those, say, 600 mothers that you have as clients on any given day, that the vast majority of the fathers of their children are, in fact, teenagers themselves.
Teenagers and young parents.
Which is very different from what we're hearing out, there's a lot of rhetoric out there right now about, there's all these really old men that are just getting these young, sweet things pregnant, and we got to throw them in jail. And of course that's going to help everybody to have them locked up and not supporting their kids. But can you talk about that a little? Because obviously your experience is different, that these are mostly also young adults and teenagers who are involved.
Well, most of the dads that we work with, their age ranges with the teen moms are kind of the same, and about just a few years in between, 2 or 3 years in between. But that is what you pick up in the newspaper, and you do find that you're reading about something like that, and that's not the case. I feel that we're in election years, and everybody's jumping on the bandwagon with teen pregnancy and making a lot of promises to develop programs and give monies to specific programs, but that's not the case. It just happens to be an election year, something good to say during, for their campaign. But other than that, most of the teens that we work with, their age range are right there with the moms, and they're the same ages. And
yet when you hear all the rhetoric, and as you said, it's an election year, but they could still be talking about these teen fathers, and that's just not what we're hearing. And as I said when I opened the show, my feeling is that they've been getting lost in the cracks because no one talks about them. No one, except apparently you, even talks to them. They're just sort of a non-entity until 3 to 5 years later, suddenly the DA's after them for support, and they're lost. They don't know what's going on. So this is, I think, a wonderful thing that you're doing.
We also talk about the fact that how do you feel that you're viewed as a young father?
Really?
And we break down those barriers or those obstacles that they may come across, such as do you feel that you're a deadbeat dad? Do you feel that the media portrays you as a deadbeat dad, or just because you're a young father, is that wrong? So we process those issues and give them a lot of skills to overcome that if they're having difficulties with those areas.
I think it's got to be amazing to people. It certainly would be to me even, and I'm in the field, to see a teenage father coming forward and presenting himself as, hey, I'm a father and I'm responsible, because you're right, the societal perception is very different. And what are you finding that these young men then are really coming to you with? Are they coming from a place of expecting to be sort of castigated, or are they, coming forward and saying, yeah, I'm a father? Are you having to sort of deal with self-esteem issues as well, or?
Well, there's a variety of things that we deal with, and some of our students that we have in our program are having difficulties with self-esteem and other areas of that nature. But many of our young men, they want to come and learn how to be an effective parent, how to parent, things that they didn't know, things that their fathers or their male role models didn't tell them. They're coming to learn, and that's what they like about the program.
That's wonderful. Now, is your sense that they're finding their desire to be involved at times rebuffed by either the mother or the mother's family? Do you have men in your program who are trying to assert themselves as young fathers and sort of being pushed away by the other family Have you found that to be the
Yeah,
case?
we have several cases that they're in that situation right now, and we're helping them work through that. And one of the key areas that we help them work through that situation is to work on their communication skills, and that goes for the mom and the dad. So just help them work on an effective relationship for them, and also, the ultimate goal is to work on an effective relationship because they have this child that they have to raise and work on that healthy relationship. And if they can't work it out themselves, coming together and eventually getting married, that would be the ideal thing. But if that is not the case, we want to work on a healthy relationship between you two because you're raising this child, and this child needs a healthy relationship from both parents and involvement from both parents. So we really work on that.
That's great. I would imagine that sometimes you might have to get the two parents together away from the influences of their extended family. I mean, I'm guessing here, but
That's correct.
Certainly with a young girl, often I've seen the cases that the family is very protective and very controlling, and of course, if the girl's still a minor, they can do that. And what happens when you're dealing with families that are like that? Do you have any sort of agency protection that allows you to have orders rendered to facilitate that, or what do you do?
Well, there's several different things you can do legally, but we try and stay away from those arenas. We try and really work with the family, and working with the family, we try and give them the skills to communicate effectively, so we wouldn't have to go to that arena of legal. So that's what we really try and work on.
Okay, now one more question, and then we're going to take a break, and
Okay.
then we're going to go take some questions from the audience. So I've just been warming you up to be in the hot seat here.
Okay, sure.
Do you have a sense from your work with your young father clients, how many of them were planned pregnancies and how many of them were maybe planned by the mother or not, but were surprises to the father? Do you have many where the father comes and said, yeah, we planned this, or is it pretty much always not intentional? Or
Well, in a percentage, I say 10% say they planned it, and the other 90% say, well, here's the baby.
Wow.
And so, but that falls back on them being educated around birth control and those areas, proper birth control, getting used to contraceptive methods and things like that. And then we also talk about that, how to get comfortable with birth control and contraceptive methods.
So the next time it is planned?
Yes, the next
Okay.
time it is planned.
That's great. Okay, we're going to take a break now, and then we're going to go talk to the audience.
Great.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm a dad and a member of FREE, the Father's Rights and Equality Exchange. Most dads out there would love to spend more time with their kids and to become a really big part of their lives. FREE wants to change the notion that all divorced dads are irresponsible, because fact is, most of us are responsible, and we're just working for a chance to share in the parenting. If you'd like to learn more, please call us at 1-500-FOR-DADS or check our website at the number or the address on your screen. And remember that fathers are parents too. Right?
Wait.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Fathers Are Parents Too. We're here with Steve Walker from the Teenage Pregnancy and Parenting Program, and we're also here with the studio audience, and they have some questions for Steve. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you answered this already, but I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit on what sort of things you have to do to get the extended family to allow the teenage father who is really interested in having a role in the child's life to do that.
When you say allow, what do you mean by allow them? I'm not sure.
Don't you generally find there's some resistance on the part of the extended family to perhaps even having the father around? I mean, I think the sort of traditional view is that a teenage mother and her family are going to take care of the baby by themselves, and they may not always be very positive about having the father around.
Well, one of the things we find is that when the mom is pregnant, you get that resistance because they feel that the father is going to quote unquote flee and not be around. So basically what we do is we encourage the father to stick around. It's going to take time for the family to warm up to you, and when the baby gets here, things are going to start changing. Things are going to be, oh, where is the father? And that's true, because when the baby is born, things do change, and sometimes the majority of the time they change for the better. But to answer your question, we work with the families, and we try and get the communication between both parties really going, and we work on that. So communication is key with that.
Do you offer any sorts of mediation services? Do you actually ever bring the families into your offices or to some setting where you sit down with them and try to facilitate that communication?
We have family counseling, which we provide on site, and we also do couples counseling. So on a variety of issues that come up with that type of counseling, we do offer that service.
And this is open to anybody who's within the San Francisco area, is that right?
Well, our program, TAPP, we service teen moms and teen dads. So basically that population.
But in that geographical area?
San Francisco County.
Yes. Stand up, please.
Steve, where do you feel that your organization is able to have the biggest positive impact on the lives of the children of these teenage parents?
For the whole overall family unit, I feel that we offer the teen mom, the teen dad, and the child a service that will make them become a family unit, and that's the whole overall goal, is to make a family unit.
When you're outreaching to some of these teenage dads, how often do you get rebuffed by them? I mean, how often do they just not want you in their face and they just want the whole problem to go away and they don't really want to deal with it?
There's a lot of dads that I've come across and faced that issue, and I think I do a lot of talking. I explain exactly what we're doing and get them really interested, and then I overcome those obstacles and those barriers. But to answer your question, I do come across that a lot, and I just work hard to overcome that.
Yes.
How is the program funded, and is there a fee for the teenagers that come in?
Okay. The TAPP project is a voluntary program, and basically we're funded by the Adolescent Family Life providers in the state of California, and there's 35 different agencies throughout California that are AFLP programs. But specifically with my program, I'm not fully funded. I'm really on a shoestring budget that I personally went out and raised funds to get my program going. And so I'm still working, looking for donations to help my program keep running. I have to, worry about space, an issue around space. There's meals that we try and provide at each program, each session that we meet. So there's, some monies that are not there that, I'm working hard to get, donations for. And if you want to donate, is it okay?
I was just going to ask, actually, are you a nonprofit organization?
That's correct.
Do you want to give your phone number nice and slowly, and if people watching want to call and donate?
Sure. It's the TAPP Teenage Pregnancy and Parenting Project, and we can be reached at area code 415-695-8300.
Great. And if they didn't get a pen in time, it's listed in San Francisco
That's
under
correct.
TAPP?
TAPP, Teenage Pregnancy and Parenting Project.
Okay. Yes.
I was curious how long your program's been in effect, and also what's the youngest set of parents you've ever had to help?
Well, TAPP has been around, the Teenage Pregnancy and Parenting Project has been around since 1981, and we were a pilot project back in 1981, and we've led the nation in the services that we provide. The specific men's group has been around since September of last year, and so the program is fairly new. To answer your question about the youngest teenager we had, they've been pregnant as young as 11 years old. So that's very young, but we've had cases 11 years old.
Do you run into the situation in cases like that where you're trying to involve the father and the parents of the mother are saying, we want to prosecute this guy? And what do you do in that situation?
Well, in that specific case, I can't get into the details because of confidentiality, but we look at the issues and find out what can be done, what legal issues that we need to pursue, and if we have to involve CPS, Child Protective Services, we will do that.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah, hi. How do you handle the situation where the young parents are going to be dealing with a child who was born maybe with a birth defect because of such a young pregnancy?
I didn't hear the question. Could you repeat it?
Yeah, how would you deal with a situation where the young parents have to deal with a child who may have a birth defect or something because of such young pregnancy?
If they have a birth defect because of a young, how would we deal with that?
Right, how do you bring the father into that picture?
How do we bring the father into that picture? First, the key issue is just educating the father around, what the situation is. He may be apprehensive of getting involved because of the birth defect, and we just, you know, and educate him on, you know, responsible fatherhood and get him involved. And you can't change anyone overnight, you know, so you just keep pushing at it and keep talking to them and, you know, keep them involved.
Let's talk about the kids. What do you have sessions where the fathers bring their children in? Do you get to meet them? Do you get to see them together? I imagine if you do, that's a pretty rewarding part of what you do, huh?
Yes. During the last couple of weeks of the cycles, we run our program in cycles, 12-week cycles. During the last couple of weeks of the cycle, we usually have the guys bring their babies in, and that's really rewarding because most of the guys haven't seen the new participants in the group's babies, and that's a time of sharing and some of the parenting things that we learn. We talk about it, and we can get to do some hands-on stuff in the group.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, Steve, you mentioned that as with most programs, you're after funding and so on, could use some donations of cash and so on. What about other services? What other services might some of the professionals in the community be able to offer to you as part of the networking and the support of the program?
Well, we're always looking into the mental health field, and we always want that type of service, psychological services, and just, you know, some serious therapy. So if there's any therapists out there willing to donate their time, we're more than willing to have them for, you know, doing some, you know, psychotherapy type of things with our guys and, you know, with our other clients.
Thank you.
You ever have any problem not being able to locate the fathers of some of the kids, or not being able to determine the father of the babies?
Sure, we've come across many cases of that being the case. There's certain cases that we have where the mother doesn't want to name the baby, or just doesn't, you know, comes and tells us, well, I'm just pregnant and I'm pregnant. You know, and, well, who's the dad? I don't know. I don't want to go into that issue right now. And we'll may make a discovery 6 months or a year later, but we do work with cases where the father is unknown and, you know, we just don't know where he is. And sometimes that's because they just don't reveal that information. Did I answer your question in full? Was there another part to that question? Okay.
Yes.
I believe that you have a situation like that. Father ignored that when you said that he is father. How you communicate in that way? Like when father ignores situation that he is actually father.
And denies, when the father denies that he's the father? Or
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
Well, if we know who he is, we empower the mother on what the process is on getting him involved, and we tell the mother about filing at the district attorney's office. Couldn't come to me real quick. So getting her involved with the district attorney's office and going through that process and how to get them involved and how to get that father involved.
Yes.
You said that throughout San Francisco County, is there just one site, or are there several facilities throughout San Francisco County for these teenagers to go to?
Well, we're the only site in San Francisco. San Francisco is San Francisco City and County, and we're the only agency that services teen mothers and teen fathers, that population.
Are you aware of other programs in other areas, either locally to you or?
Sure, we have a network of services throughout the Bay Area that if one of our clients was to move to Alameda County or Contra Costa County, we have the same agencies in those counties that we refer them to.
And are you familiar at all with agencies outside of the county? If someone watching this in, say, Massachusetts says, this is a great idea, can I find one here, would they be able to call you, or maybe they should call their local social services? What would you recommend?
First of all, I would like everyone who's watching to get to find out who's your service provider for teen fathers and teen mothers. If you don't know, you should get out there and know. But if they were to call TAPP, we do have a variety of services, and we do have a large network that we can make a referral for them.
So this would be a very good time then for you to give that phone number again if you'd like.
Once again, it's 415-695-8300.
Now what about school? Obviously, I would imagine that a majority of your teen parents are either in school or should be in school. And how do you address that issue, especially when you're talking about young fathers it's incumbent upon them to support their children? And I can imagine there's a tension between going out and getting a job to pay child support versus staying in school. And how do you help them to achieve balance there?
Well, one of the areas that we work on is having the teen father become self-sufficient. And becoming self-sufficient, one of the areas that we work on is academics, school. We tell the teen father that, you know, hey, look, you're going to have a child. You don't want to be working at Burger King or wherever for the rest of your life. You need to get into school and further education. And if you further education, of course, you're going to, you know, find yourself in a career that would, you know, make you become self-sufficient and also economically stable. So we pursue that, and we have a session that we talk about that.
And then also in the program where you work with teen mothers, how do you help them with the balance there? Because of course they're caring for children at this point.
We also do the same thing. Basically, when they come to us on intake, we assess what their needs are, and we really focus in on those needs and get them going.
Great. Okay, we have time for one more question.
Well, since fatherhood is such a legally demanding issue, do you have any legal resources that you can recommend to the young men that you talk to?
Sure, we do. We utilize one that comes right to my mind is Legal Services for Children in San Francisco, and that's our agency that we go to when we have some issues regarding those issues, and we utilize them.
Now, because I'm the host, I get to ask the one last question. I always save a little time for myself. What about legislation? Are there any issues right now, just in California or even at the federal level, you know about that we should be aware of that are affecting your services that you're trying to provide to these young parents?
Well, Governor Wilson has just last year came up with a new program called the Cal Learn program, which emphasizes any teen mom who's on AFDC to be enrolled in school, or their AFDC monies will be sanctioned. So that has its advantages and disadvantages, and it directly affects our work in several different areas.
Especially if you're trying to help these mothers stay in school.
Exactly.
and they're mandated to, but they're also trying to raise these children. And that seems to me to be one more reason to make sure the fathers are involved, I would imagine. And so maybe in that way it will help you.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, I thank you very much for being here.
Thanks
and
for inviting me.
we hope to have you back again soon and have you bring some of your fathers with you. And thank you all for being here. And join us next time on Fathers Are Parents Too.